So the point is that the children are not afraid of being creative. When we grow up, along the way, we find out, there are things that people want us to say, people want us to do, and if we don't do it that way, then it's not an acceptable behavior. So our creativity goes down. Here, I would like all of us to be creative. Just make a guess. As I will describe, there are no right and wrong answers. So just tell me, what do you think? What does economic cost of bullying mean? Anybody? Yeah.
What are the things that?
What are the things that we should be considering in terms of monetary losses when bullying occurs in a school?
The money for teachers to
I heard you in the back.
Okay. So she said paying teachers who are running the suspensions and detentions, right? People now. Please come on in.
We had to take a break.
Okay. What else? What other costs we could attribute to bullying, in addition to the cost associated with running the detention and detention programs and suspensions?
the loss of the teachers in terms of the school. 5 years.
Okay. What else?
With the lawsuits, when you get lawsuits involved, you're looking
That's
at
right.
costs.
That's right. That's one of the huge areas that result in a huge economic cost for school districts. Okay, so we have identified cost for lawsuits, cost for running the suspensions, detention programs, and loss in terms of teacher leaving early instead of staying for a long time with the school. So in terms of loss of knowledge, that goes out of the door when a teacher leaves. Okay, what else?
In school.
Injuries. So children need to go to hospital. That healthcare cost, somebody's paying for it. Okay. Mental cost.
Losing instructional time that can be used to help prep the kids for standardized testing for losing.
That's
funding
right.
in schools.
That's right. Okay, now we're talking. So keep coming up because there are, as you start thinking about it, you find out there are costs associated with bullying that we don't even think about. Normally we take it for granted, but they can be very easily and neatly attributed directly to bullying. Okay. Come on.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, the question was, what costs can be attributed to bullying in schools? So we talked about, for example, lawsuits, paying for teachers who are administering the suspensions and detentions, also in terms of knowledge capital loss when teachers decide to leave early. So what other costs do you think can be neatly attributed to bullying in schools?
You may, I don't know, like you mentioned with state funding before, but if your enrollment drops off because maybe your school gets a bad reputation or dropouts.
You can only think about the cost of dropouts because of bullying, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the loss of potential knowledge workers who could have been doing things for themselves and for the society, for the economy, that they won't be doing it. And they'll end up at the lowest rung in the economy.
And you're giving them benefits when you have a person.
That's right. And that's another cost, right? Did you ever think that prison cost could be attributed to bullying in school? How much money do we spend every year on a prisoner?
Isn't America at the largest percentage of the population
Yes.
in prison?
Yes,
In the world?
yes. And we talk about
Yeah,
China, right?
is good, yes.
We talk about China. China is nowhere close to what we do here.
We're talking about economic effects on the whole society, or just
That's
in
right.
school, economic school?
Well, let's talk about the whole society so that we have the big picture. And then we can start to narrow down in putting numbers on these costs. And then we can calculate an actual number. Now that actual number is going to be different for every school district, right? But we cannot build that small case for one school district if we do not know the overall cost. Because no matter how generous you are with numbers, when you're calculating cost of bullying to a school district, you cannot completely you cannot completely include all the costs that are actually because of that problem. Okay. Now, there have been studies. A number of school districts have done this. They have calculated these costs, and they have published papers. They have different types of reports, and I'll be sure to put some of those on our website, the Bullying Conference website. And you'll be amazed to see that all of these points that you have raised, they're all included and more. Okay, let's restart where we left off. What other areas we can think of that may cost society and school district because of bullying?
In fact, in workplaces because of bullying customers.
That's right. That's right. So parents losing economic cost on parents income because they have to come early and pick up their kids when they're not behaving well.
I'll keep them on discussions.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Going off of what she said, it's really cyclical. Because if you don't have the skill set because you're being bullied or you are a bully, you're not going to do well no matter what you try to do after school.
That's
so
right.
you're not going to, any children that you have or the effect that you have on other people is going to be to cultivate the whole environment.
Exactly. Anybody else would like to elaborate on that point? You can make connection, right? That the cost of bullying is not only on those students who are involved in that behavior, the cost is also on those students who could have been doing good things, who could have been involved in the learning process. But they are not involved in the learning, even though they're not directly involved in the bullying. They're not being bullied, they are not bullies themselves, but since all of these things are happening around them, we cannot rule out that that's an isolated thing and nobody else is being affected. So even those kids whom we may not think are the victims of bullying, they are indirectly, they're also victims of bullying. Okay. What else? Come on, we're doing good, right?
I was just saying, I don't know how some schools are, but maybe if you offer a kid an in-school suspension or something, you have to bring in a whole new person to be with that child for the day for an in-school suspension, so that's costing your school money. I don't know, sometimes they'll throw them with the teacher all day long, but others may bring in study hall person
That's
to
right,
spend
that's
the
right.
whole day.
Sometimes it could be just that one of the teachers is pulled out from the regular instruction time and has to spend time, and sometimes you have to hire a new staff altogether just to deal with those issues.
I work with parents of kids with disabilities in terms of trying to get what their kids need within the school. And one of the indirect costs that, I guess direct costs, is that it's not only that they're suspended in school suspension, but an in-school suspension, in order for it not to count, the same as an out-of-school suspension, has to have instruction and services if the kid has an IEP, an individual education plan, a special education plan. Or else, that counts toward the 10 days total in a school year that a student, they have to have an IEP meeting and develop a functional behavior assessment, behavior intervention plan, which are all a royal pain in the rear and take a lot of time. And then it'll take time for every single teacher to be implementing that behavior intervention plan with its rewards and keeping track of it, counting it. So the whole thing spirals ultimately into a huge cost of time, instruction time, paying teachers to stay for IEP meetings. It's actually a huge cost.
That's right. Now let's, and now I hope we have developed an understanding of how these problem areas can be identified, right? That these are the areas that cost, that have economic cost because of bullying, right? So if we can make a list of it, now we can start to put dollar value on these issues. Let's say you have a number for your school district and you had 100 bullying issues to deal with in a given month. And for those 100 issues, on average you spend an hour and a half dealing with that issue. So how many hours are we talking about? 150 hours, right? So 150 hours. Now, 150 hours for the person who bullied, the person who was bullied, the resource, the faculty resource or the counselor who is involved, cost for the pay and benefits of that person, right? 150 hours are basically, we have 40 hours in a week. So 200 hours, 160 hours in a month. So those 100 cases mean one full-time employee, one full-time counselor, right?
There's actually another lawsuit in that too, because kids who have IEPs and are receiving services from social workers and counselors, if they do not receive the specified amount of time per week for learning skills that they need to learn, then that's a potential lawsuit in and of itself.
Exactly. So
And I know a lot of counselors who don't really have time to do what they're supposed to do, but parents, fortunately for them, don't know that they can ask for the logs in the system.
that's right. See, I'm glad. I'm not from education, right? I'm from College of Business. All I know is identify those factors and then start putting a numerical value on those incidents, right? If I can help you develop a mental model of how these costs can be calculated, it'll be worth my travel for 14 hours from Delaware.
Wow.
So we have basically, in the literature, before coming here, I did my research. I looked into different line item areas that are usually included in calculating such costs. And I didn't even have to tell you. You guys said it yourself, right? And I believe we have basically covered all of the line item areas that are usually included in reports like these that calculate cost, economic cost of bullying in schools. And then you can, so we found out that one person is needed, and then there are other people whose hours are being used in that. So what is the cost of hiring this person? Salary plus benefits. Then the instruction loss to the student. There's some costs that can be neatly identified. They can be easily, we can put a dollar value on those things. There are some that we cannot. Okay, so these are explicit costs, the ones that we can put a dollar value directly, neatly, without any dispute, nobody can challenge it. And then there are other ones that are subjective. They're called tacit costs. Okay. Tacit costs are the costs that we cannot we can make a case for it, but anybody can challenge that. No, let's say we talked about a child dropping out. Let's say that child had the potential to become a medical doctor, right? How much money a medical doctor makes in their lifetime? Right? At least $200,000 a year. And if that person had worked for 35 years, that's at least a minimum of $7 million. Right? Just one child could have been potentially worth $7 million. And I'm not even talking about a person who could have been an entrepreneur, could have started a business, could have employed hundreds of people, right? So these are tacit costs. And there could be, one could make a case that this person only had a potential to be a clerk at Walmart. So how much money a clerk at Walmart makes in a lifetime? So those could be two extremes, right? In terms of putting dollar value on that. So if you had those 100 cases that we started off with, and out of those 100 cases, let's say 10 of the kids dropped out, then those are tacit costs that can be easily used to make a very strong case, a very numbers-oriented case to do something about bullying. Like that.
Has anybody done studies on people in prison who've been bullied, perhaps onto drugs and alcohol for comfort?
Yes, yes, and no. There are studies that are done on people, why they were involved in that, how did they get into prison and things like that, but not the economic cost. Not the economic cost.
Can you take the numbers?
Yes, yes. Economic costs have been calculated for other issues that land people in prison. Okay, not just for bullying. I have not seen any research that has tried to put a dollar value on that, but there are other studies that try to put the cost of somebody in prison due to other issues, other social issues. Okay. Now, that cost is in terms of lost wages, lost employment, and also in terms of taxpayers funding that person in the prison. Because prisons are basically huge lodging operations, right? They're like hotels. Right? That you check in, you get a bed. What do you get in a hotel? You check in, you get a bed, right? And then
That's what I was thinking. And you're voluntarily checking in. I don't have time.
Right?
Yeah, I see.
See, a lot of hotels do not have a restaurant. Prisons do, right?
So it should be forced to be present.
Well, there are a lot of restaurants that you would be better off eating at prison. I'm actually in the College of Business in the Department of Hotel Restaurant Management, Hotel Restaurant and Institutional Management. So institutional is where prisons, dorms, anywhere where people check in, stay there, get a bed, and are served food. It's called institutional management. So there's a whole lot of economics that goes into that, right? And then, of course, the fear of lawsuits, and there are numbers that are available, and those numbers come in through the insurance system when schools take insurance, they purchase insurance. The premium that they're paying, that's one cost. And if there is an actual lawsuit and if there is an actual expense, that's another. Right? So then we can start to isolate those costs. The costs that are directly being borne by the school district and the cost that the society bears in general. Right? So that's all I had. I'll be sure to put some of these studies on the website. Once we have that set up, we'll send out an email to all of the participants how to get access to that. If you have any, my email address is on the website, on the BBC Bullying Conference, bullyingproject.org. And if you ever have a question about putting a dollar value on a particular line item, okay, if you are doing this project, or if somebody else is doing this project and needs help, you can call me up and I'll help you calculate those costs for a particular student. Okay. Any questions?
Are there any studies in terms of directly looking at insurance costs and the average for people and how that rises when you've got insurance?
Yes, there are. Actually, there is a raw data. Yeah, raw data is also available. Not just an analyzed format, but also the raw data from insurance companies that insure schools. In fact, they use that raw data to calculate premium. And premium could be different for different schools, and a lot of factors for a particular school district go into calculating those costs. Is there something else that you had in mind that we'll be talking about?
Are there studies for lost instruction time?
Lost instruction, yes. They are directly related to bullying, yes. Plenty of them.
And is that tied to awakening and making the state tests?
Usually they are calculated as costs to the school district, but I don't see any problem extrapolating from that and associating that to different different sources of funding, different other areas.
So you can probably find ratios.
I believe even if somebody has not calculated ratios, raw data would still be available. And that's a good point. That if you calculate economic cost of bullying to one school, and you find out, let's say, that these 100 issues cost $1 million to a school district. Now, is that good or bad?
Or without.
Well, comparatively speaking, we can't tell. We can't tell. If you have data for one school district, we can't say anything whether it's good or bad. We can only say that if we have data from multiple school districts, then we can start to compare. And then we can start to calculate those ratios, Kate, that you talked about, right? Because we can't calculate a ratio with just one data point. So, so it would be, you know, most of the studies that are done on calculating economic cost of bullying to schools are done on like a project basis. Like somebody is interested in doing that, they do it, they publish a study, and that's it. It's not done in a systematic manner, and it's definitely not done across the board. So there's this huge
When you say not,
potential.
I'm sorry. When you say not across the board, are you referring to instruction through the grades?
No, I'm saying that not every school does it. I would say it is done across the board. If everybody was doing it,
Okay.
right, then that would be across the board. But everybody does not do it.
Do you have per pupil costs laid out?
When you have cost to the district and you have the number of students in the school district, you can easily calculate that. I don't remember seeing that cost directly, you know, per pupil calculated in that manner. But you know, this is that area that you could now become creative and start putting these numbers in different ways to show the impact. But every school district that has done this type of study, they make it public. This is for this school district. And even if they have not reported total number of children in that school district, you can easily find that out, how many, and then you can, you know, cost divided by.
They have to put on their website.
That's right. That's right.
Actually, if you look at a number like that, then you can probably estimate who's making AYP and
That's
look
right.
at ratios for that.
That's right. So this could be something that can potentially be done in a systematic manner. Could be something, you know, that everybody should be doing. Everybody should know how much it's costing them, so that, you know, appropriate steps can be taken and people realize how serious this thing is.
One of the studies that look at the occurrence in terms of measure of lost instruction time, say on a per-hour basis, relative to its effect on AYP, meeting state tests and grading of the state tests.
I haven't looked at a study like that, but if you look at it from a pragmatic point of view, it's not difficult to calculate it. And it's going to be pretty specific for every school district. It's not going to be, you know, something generic. Different school districts have different varying levels of bullying issues. Some school districts have more issues with this, some do not. You know,
Has anybody developed what amounts to being a break-even point? in terms of instruction time lost and the time spent for bullying programs?
I'll have to check that. Good job, kid. You're really picking up. I would expect a paper from you now.
100 classes, there's no way.
So, okay, it's about time. Please, let me give you my email address. You can find it from the website. It's MNB for boy, AQIR. MNBAQIR at udel.edu. Minister of Delaware. MNBAQIR. I would love to hear from you. Let's consider this as a seed of learning. If we can do just a few studies for some of the school districts, maybe we'll have more local data to talk. Let me tell you, we have already talked about all of the things that I have to talk about. Financial cost, human capital cost, one overarching, who pays for all this? Right? So, are we willing to, as a society, are we willing to continue paying for something that can be addressed? So there could be better creative ways, like Dr. Asmalaj was talking about, and other speakers are talking about how to address this issue, right? So if we can address this issue, like prevention is better than cure, right? So when we talk about calculating economic cost, we're talking about, we're not talking about prevention, we're talking about cure, right? That these are the things that we have done, and this is how much it has cost us. If we can do something that prevents these issues to start, becoming so big issues that we have to hold conferences in this, we should probably look into the prevention. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll be here all day, so feel free to stop me.